All right, Rima, thanks a lot for that. Well, Mayuresh Joshi is also with us, and of course, we are talking technicals with Mitesh and Ashwini. Mayuresh, good afternoon. The stock of the moment, in fact, is ONGC. And the kind of rally that we have seen in ONGC, do you think it's good for more, considering that it's correcting many years of underperformance now?
Afternoon, Anuj. Probably yes, but again, I think one must understand that ONGC is now a direct play on how the crude movement will be, with under recoveries probably out of their balance sheet and the expectations of crude moving in a particular range. I think as the crude moves higher, the stock probably reacts correspondingly. However, one must also understand the entire scenario where its overseas arm ONGC Videsh is also directly impacted in terms of how the crude correlation will happen. And again, I think the kind of core capex that they need to do, both in terms of the oil and gas assets in India. So largely, I think our own sense is that since it's a direct play on crude and the crude movement can be extremely volatile, I think the stock from a risk-reward perspective, at least from the current juncture, will not offer that amount of value to long-term investors. I think there'll be better entry points over the next few months for a stock like ONGC. I think the downstream companies is something that we remain extremely optimistic about, and it's a clear hold on the downstream rather than the upstream at this point of time.
Okay, Mayuresh, hi, good afternoon. From the list of mid-caps that came out with numbers, we saw many, companies come out with strong numbers this time around. I mean, so many names from the broader markets like Oberoi Realty, etc. did well. What did you like from the space?
No, largely again, Sonia, my own sense is that housing finance as a space will continue to do well. The numbers that we saw probably from Dewan Housing, I think exceptional set of numbers. And though one presumes that the NIMs probably will start coming down a tad bit, assuming that the competitive intensity pressure, specifically in terms of yield on advances, will probably curtail the yield on investments growth. Largely, I think the cost of funds coming down is a huge plus. The kind of NCD issuances that Dewan had done, that will definitely get their cost of funds down by at least 20-30 bips. Having said that, I think even LIC Housing Finance posted a robust set of numbers. Again, loan growth was quite strong, and our own sense is that as rates start coming down into the system, and because the pie is so huge to cater to, I think earnings as well as loan growth in excess of 20% generally for HFCs is not ruled out. So in my opinion, again, I think Dewan, LIC came with a strong set of numbers. I think the growth momentum in terms of earnings should sustain, and even within the mid-cap IT pack, I think stocks like Cyient came with a very strong set of numbers. So my own sense is that one really needs to cherry pick within the IT space, specifically the mid-cap universe, because a few companies like Mindtree did disappoint both on the revenue and the PAT front for various reasons of client postponement and so on and so forth. So largely, I think mid-cap IT selectively and housing finance companies, I think this is the space, in my opinion, that have done well in the ensuing quarter.
Okay. Ashwini, I wanted your thoughts on ONGC, now trading above all the moving averages, 20, 50, 100 and 200, and at new 52-week high. Do you think something similar to Cairn is playing out here, which of course was one of your picks at 100 odd?
See, the difference between the two is that Cairn, the promoters don't keep coming out with an OFS or the risk of coming out with an OFS. I think it was a good buy around 200, 220, but 290, 300, it faces a lot of resistance. There are better stocks. Maybe Aban Offshore is a better stock to play the upside of crude. I think ONGC, given that it's had a 35% rally from lower levels, is probably done and not a great risk reward from here.
Okay, that's a look at Aban Offshore, 6% higher now as we mentioned. But let's do one thing, the mid-caps are now moving into the red, so there's quite a bit of volatility. Let's take a short break, but coming up it's an earnings heavy weekend. Tomorrow we have 8 nifty companies just in one trading session, so it's going to be a busy day for us. Our research team will be here on the other side of this break to tell us what you can expect from some of the big earnings tomorrow. Also coming up next, G. Chokalingam, the founder and managing director of Economics Research and Advisory, will join in to give us some top Diwali picks.
Welcome back. Look at a couple of stocks intraday. First is Aban Offshore, and the second one is EIL. Just pull out the intraday chart of that one as well, and that stock has also surged a bit. Aban, of course, we just discussed, but EIL as well is now looking up 3.5%. But G. Chokalingam, founder and managing director of Economics Research and Advisory, now joins us with some Diwali picks. Chokalingam, hi, good afternoon. Let's discuss some stock ideas. Moil, that's a stock you like.
Yeah, this in fact, we bought for all our clients. We are pitching it as a multi-bagger in 3 years' time. It has got 81 million ton of reserves. In the last 1 year, it has got 2-3 mines added to its reserves. And it is planning to increase output from 11 lakh tons to 20 lakh tons. In the last couple of months, twice it has increased the prices of manganese ore. And the government has participated fully in a buyback. Now, on a reduced capital, I am expecting a solid bounce in the earnings. So therefore, in the short term, I believe it can reach 400. In 2 to 3 years, the stock can even become a multi-bagger.
Okay. All right. So that's the word coming in on Moil. Expansion plans will foster future growth. Bamer Lorry is the other stock that you're looking at. What's the story there?
Yeah, this is a beautiful long-term story. In fact, it has not participated in the rally in the logistic business because this company gets 2/3 of profits from the logistic segment. It has got the richest logistic infra in the country. I am banking on the possibility of this company joining a strategic sale also because several years ago, its holding company, Balmalari Investment, has given undertaking to RBI that they would divest the stake in Balmalari company and wind up the holding company. Apart from that, in terms of valuation also, it is very attractive. On 1 year forward earning, this logistic company is still available at around 10-11 PE. Lot of cash on the books. This year, it is celebrating 150th year. And recently, the board has more than doubled authorized capital. So tactically also, there is a possibility of the stock playing out in the short term itself because on the eve of 150th year, the management may consider giving bonus, also special dividend if you go by the recent board's decision to double the authorized capital.
Okay, one more stock, it used to be darling of investors in last bull market, Automotive Axles. Why do you like it?
Yeah. As you rightly said, it used to be darling of the market. In between, it slipped down on the growth, but again, it has come back to some growth. In Q1, it has posted 30% growth in profit. It's a joint venture of reputed Meritor of US and Kalyani Group in India. And I believe that, the automobile sector is now set for a significant turnaround. And this company, specializing in axles, axle assemblies with a wide clientele, I'm pretty confident that, once again, it will join the growth path. And also, as compared to many small Indian auto component companies, this valuation is still at a little discount. There are some companies like Jai Bharat Motor, they have flared up 300%, 3 times the 1 year low. So whereas Automotive Axle has not joined the kind of rally we have seen in auto component space. So that also gives me a lot of comfort that Automotive Axle can flare up in the short to medium term.
Okay, so that's on Automotive Axles. You have one more stock. Well, we don't generally talk about it, but Ineos is a stock. So for the benefit of our viewers, can you just explain what does the company do and why you like that stock?
Yeah, this company has given a lot of reward in the past for retail investors. This is the joint venture of Ineos and Styrolution worldwide. They are the leader in engineering plastics, very high-tech engineering plastics. There are only 2 companies in the world which make this kind of technology product. The other one is GE Plastics. And this company in India tried thrice to come out with the open offer to delist the stock, but all 3 times it failed. Its major raw material is a base oil, which is a derivative of crude oil. Now, all of us know the crude oil is down almost 50% from 2-year peak. And also, it has stabilized around $50, which is very positive for Styrolution Ineos. Apart from that, this chemical company operating in the MNC space is the cheapest if you compare this company with Clariant and BASF on EV to EBITDA basis, on even PE basis. So I firmly believe that with the turnaround expected in the industrial economy, Ineos Styrolution should come back to growth path. Lastly, this company merged the 100% subsidiary of the parent company with the listed company, and that subsidiary has got a lot of land bank in Gujarat, which is going for now expansion. So all these points augur well for playing out, for this Styrolution company.
Okay, thanks a lot for that, and happy Diwali to you and your entire team. Thanks for giving us these 4 ideas. That's the word coming in from Chokalingam. But you're seeing some news flow on your screen. This is a setback for pharma companies, according to our colleague Ashmit. We'll in fact try and get him on board. He said that the Supreme Court has dismissed the plea against the 2014 notification seeking to regulate prices of 108 diabetic and cardio drugs. But the Supreme Court has now dismissed that plea. So a whole host of even listed companies get impacted. Cipla, Dr. Reddy's, and in the unlisted space, you have names like Abbott, etc., that could get affected because of this. Ashmit Kumar, in fact, joins us on the phone line to give us more details on that. Ashmit, what are you picking up?
Right, as you rightly pointed out, setback coming in pharma companies, the Apex Court has dismissed their application against the 2014 notification. Now, here's what makes the matter interesting. In the year 2014, the NPPA had come out with a notification whereby they had sought to regulate the prices of non-scheduled drugs. Now, that was an interesting move, given that the NPPA was using powers that was very rarely used, powers referred to as the Para-19 powers. What these powers essentially do is that it allows the NPPA, in certain rare cases, to proceed with regulation of prices of drugs, even drugs that are not in the prescribed schedule, provided there is an extraordinary situation. Now, the extraordinary situation that was made out by the NPPA was that such diseases are extremely widespread, that the market mechanisms to provide for cheap, accessible drugs, that is clearly not happening. The market model has failed, and hence there is a need for the government agencies to come in and to step in and to regulate. And subsequently, in July of 2014, they had passed this notification, and expectedly, given the widespread impact, we are looking at companies such as Sanofi, Dr. Reddy's, Cipla, Pfizer, Abbott being affected. So given the widespread impact, expectedly, the pharma companies had taken recourse to legal remedies. They had, in fact, filed several appeals before the Delhi High Court as well as the Bombay High Court. What's crucial here is that in the month of September, the Bombay High Court had passed a scathing order wherein not only had they directed that they had upheld the 2014 notification, they had even given a free hand to the NPPA to go ahead and proceed in terms of recovery proceedings, in terms of penalties. Now, what's crucial is that that order had been challenged before the Apex Court, and after a summary hearing, we understand that the Apex Court has not found merit. The pharma companies had argued that there was non-application of mind, that the notification was arbitrary, but not managing to cut any ice with the Apex Court. And what we understand is that the Bombay High Court order has been upheld by the Apex Court, and by virtue of doing that, not only has the notification been upheld, but also the NPPA has been allowed a free hand to go ahead and to initiate recovery proceedings as well as to slap penalties. Back to you.
All right, Ashmit, thanks a lot for that. So that's the news on some pharma stocks. But let's move on. Just about 6 minutes left before the clock turns 3. That time to give us some ideas at 2:55. Sandeep Wagle now joins us with those ideas. Sandeep, hi, good afternoon. Your trading ideas?
Afternoon, Anuj. I would go with the buy in SBI, stop loss 260 to 27. A buy in a Tata Motors, stop loss 551, target 584. And a buy in a Coal India, stop loss 315, target 336.
Okay, Sandeep, thanks a lot for that. Well, let's also get you some macro perspective. Today we spoke with our somewhat market master, Navneet Munot of SBI Mutual Fund, and he was very, very optimistic. He's saying the going is quite good for Indian equities, and most importantly, he said that the worst of the earnings downgrades may now be behind us on individual sectors. That's important coming from someone like him because he manages so much money and not just large caps. He has a huge mid cap and small cap portfolio as well. So let's listen in to the sectors that he's bullish on. Okay, that's an optimistic Navneet Munot, but the market's not doing anything right now. It's just flat with a bit of a positive bias, up about 30 odd points. But tomorrow is going to be a really packed day, and we have lots of work here at CNBC TV 18 because it's an earnings heavy week. 8 nifty companies report their numbers tomorrow, and our research team is here in full glory to tell you what you can expect from some of these biggies that will announce numbers. It's a very long list in earnings, but in bank earnings, but we've drilled it down to Axis Bank. So Lata, you go first. Tell us what's the expectation from Axis Bank?
Yes, Axis Bank, because the other banks like HDFC Bank in any case are retail lenders, Kotak and HDFC in any case has such a steady record. But Axis actually would be the bellwether of all corporate facing banks. So that includes ICICI, Bank of Baroda, SBI. Incidentally, nobody will watch for the profit number itself. What you will watch for really is the asset quality watch list. They had a list of about 22,857 crores, which formed about 6.6% of their loan book. That amount amount and how it moves, what are the slippages from that list, does anything get added to that list, is what is going to be monitored most. Incidentally, the other numbers connected to it, like the GNPL list, the gross NPA list, it was 2.54, does it rise? Maybe even up to 2.6, 2.7, the market will be able to stomach it. But nevertheless, if it doesn't rise, that will be a very big consolation for the market. Margins, 3.8% will be okay. That's what they did in the first quarter. But that will not be the most watched figure. The most watched figure will be the quality of assets, the watch list, the provisioning done, as well the loan growth. Growth often is a panacea for all such ills. So 18 to 19% growth will still be seen as ameliorative.
Oh yes, a very volatile stock. Last quarter, of course, numbers came, the stock fell. After that, a big rally, and then again, because of that Suti overhang, the stock fell again. So all over the place. But one stock which has had, has been having a rally actually is Adani Ports. Though in last 5 minutes it slipped a bit, but month to date up 11%. Anisha, what's the expectation here?
Well, yes, Anuj, this time around I'll be looking at the balance sheet more in the profit and loss account. Remember, after the Q4 numbers, the stock had suddenly tanked when analysts had been pointing out that the intercorporate loans of the company have been going up, and that remains the key overhang. And also the management after Q1 numbers had said that they're looking to bring down the intercorporate loans by at least 1,000 crores by the month of October and completely let go of the intercorporate loans by end of FY17. So the 1,000 crore number is what everybody would be eyeing out as far as balance sheet is concerned. In terms of the operational numbers, I'm expecting the top line to grow by just around 2%. Given that last year there was a one-off around 300 crores in terms of the SEZ income, so top line is expected to remain flat there. In terms of the cargo volumes, I'm expecting a 12% growth. The management has guided for a 10 to 15% volume guidance growth for the entire year, and last quarter was just around 7%. So I'm expecting an accelerated number to come in this time around. The margins are expected to remain around 64% level from the company, and the bottom line is showing a healthy growth of around 19%, given the fact that interest cost is expected to come down on account of the refinancing that they have done. But clearly this time around it will all be about balance sheet and the intercorporate loans for Adani Ports.
Okay, we'll watch out for that, and of course we have you to tell us when the numbers come out, so thanks Anisha for that. But one stock that's generally called the stock for all weathers, Asian Paints, it's up about 30% this year, so it's been clearly one of the stocks of the year and had a great showing last quarter. Mangalam, are we expecting an encore?
Not really, because firstly, Sonia, the second quarter for all the paint companies is seasonally weak because of the rains and stuff. Not a lot of people paint their houses, and there is not a lot of construction activity that takes place. H2 is usually better. So keeping that in mind, there are three numbers to remember as far as Asian Paints, the second quarter numbers are concerned: 10, 18 and 23. On our poll throws up a total income growth of almost 10% at 4,140 crores. Margins are seen higher by 200 basis points around that 18.5% mark. So that's why remember the number 18, and the net profit is seen higher by 23%, closer to that 500 crore mark. Though keep in mind the numbers might change because of Ind AS. So that brings us to the key expectation as far as Asian Paints number is concerned. That is the volume growth. Domestic paint volume growth. Majority of the streets expects anywhere between 12 to 14%, double digits at least. That is primarily because the management has been iterating that they will expect double-digit volume growth going forward. But if the trend comes up for you, you'll see that the similar time last quarter, the company has the advantage of a favorable base as well. 8% was what they posted in the second quarter of last fiscal. But again, there are upside and downside risks to volume growth. Some analysts expect 8 to 9% growth given extended monsoons. However, some also expect 15 to 16% growth given earlier Diwali stocking by all the dealers, because channel checks do suggest that Diwali volumes are expected to be higher. Other than that, keep in mind realizations could be 2 to 3% lower because of crude prices, which are lower 6%, and watch for any acquisition announcement in the home improvement space, because the management has been bullish on that.
Oh yes, and they have made a couple of acquisitions in the past in this space. But finally, Zee Entertainment, the stock has seen a bit of a correction, but Naveen, ad revenue number again, something to watch out.
The most important number, Anuj, we are expecting an ad revenue growth of anywhere around 15% for the company, and this will help aid the overall revenues, and it will help it grow by almost 19% at around close to 1,650. Also the subscription revenues, this is going to improve by almost close to 14 to 15%. This is majorly on the back of lower base that the company is having, so which will ultimately culminate into margins. As we know, as I already spoke about the ad revenues growing, that is majorly because of the higher yields that the company will be experiencing in the non-core markets, majorly in the southern part of the country. Also, higher subscription revenues will help aid margins, and we are expecting a margin growth of anywhere around 300 basis points to come in at around 28.5%. Also, the other businesses, that is, they have a film production business. Rustom was one of the biggest hits of the year. That will aid the other sales by almost 70 crores. And the sports laws, again, as we remember, the company has sold the sports business, but it will be there till the next quarter, and maybe later on the sports business will be hived off from the numbers. But as of now, in this quarter, the sports loss is pegged at anywhere around 10 to 15 crores. So overall, a decent set of numbers. But remember one thing, the company is right now trading at a valuation of almost 43 times FY17 earnings. So there is not much room for disappointment going ahead. Back to you.
Okay guys, thank you for preparing us for tomorrow. It's going to be a very earnings heavy day tomorrow, and we know what to expect from the key numbers. By the way, don't be fooled by the flat headline index. There's lots of stocks that are moving around. ADF Foods is one stock that's now up almost 18%, and the market has liked this stock all through the year. I mean, it's up 70% this year already. ADF Foods is the stock I'm talking about. And the other one to look at today is GNFC. Big multi-bagger this year, in fact up almost 250% just in 2016. GNFC is up another 15% today at the high point right now. But our closing bell money control question of the day is, Navneet Munot of SBI Mutual Fund says, the worst of the earnings downgrade cycle is now behind us. Do you agree? Log on to moneycontrol.com, post your responses there, and we'll read out some of the most interesting responses post 3:30 p.m. Welcome back. It's time for our most favorite segment on Mondays. To brighten up our Mondays, Nigel D'Souza is here to give us his mid-cap mania for the day. Nigel, go ahead.
Well, Sonia, this stock has been on an absolute tear in the last 1 month or so. In fact, the stock is up close to around 24%. But I'm just looking at it, and in the past year, the stock was at similar around that 1,000 odd level just in the last 1 year. So you just pull up a wider time, you'll see that in fact it was at the similar level. It's up only around 10% in the last 1 month. It's running along. But let's talk about the fundamentals of the company. Cotton prices, we know, are up between 20 to around 25% itself from the 2016 lows. But Ambika cotton, why is it different? Is because it uses Supima cotton. I was just looking through it. This is a premium cotton in comparison to the Egyptian cotton that we normally talk about. So how it helps them? Their yarn realizations as well are higher because the kind of cotton they're using, that Supima cotton, is of a superior quality as well. The company manufactures quality cotton yarn for hosiery as well as for weaving. Close to 60% of their revenues coming from exports. And also the current capacity is at around 108,000 spindles. That's in terms of their spinning capacity. They have a couple of expansion plans as well that are likely to come on stream. So let's pull up the expansion plans. They're looking to set up around 30,000 spindles approximately. But however, all the clearances haven't yet come. But most of this capex is already in the price because they have indicated, as per the annual report, that they're looking at around 130 crores. And in fact, most of that is going to be funded via internal accruals. That's one part of it. The second part is that in fact, they're looking at getting into knitting business as well. That's a forward integration. The total capex of that project was only around 8.5 crores. But what I understand is that the asset turn is nearly around 4 times. So that will add nearly around 30 to around 35 crores once operational. And the management says it's going to be operational in this month itself. So it should start reflecting from Q4 onwards for the entire quarter. And remember, all this capacity addition is being done from internal accruals. But what really impressed me was the way they've reduced their debt over the last few years. They had a 250 crore debt approximately. That's now down to around 15 crores. Net debt I'm talking about. So that's quite good as well when you have a capacity of around 1.1 lakh 8,000 spindles approximately. Look at the financials then. They have delivered a CAGR of around 14% in the last few years. That's on revenues. But the last few years, they've done absolutely nothing. That's because, in fact, the cotton prices, they have been fairly volatile. Moving to the profitability as well, they've done a CAGR of around 17% in the last 6 years. So both these two data points are not very, very impressive. But what impresses in terms of a yarn producer is that the margins have been fairly stable, from around 20 to around 30%. I was talking to Mangalam as well as Naveen, and they were telling me at some point of time, even the best yarn producers, they see suddenly a 5-10% margin number. That's not really happened even in the toughest times if you take a look at the margin picture. The other positive that you can look at is that, in fact, Ambika, in terms of their average days receivable, it's only around 14 days. And remember, they're exporting 60% of their revenues. So that number as well could appear a tad bit inflated. While, in fact, you look at Arvind as well as Vardhaman, that, in fact, is higher than both these two. Promoter holding, there always calls for attention. Promoter holding at around 49%. And two big funds over there do hold stake. Ms. Murthy as well as Professor Bakshi, they have some stake. And remember, so that will be a longer term investment that we're seeing in there as well. Finally, the MD's remuneration always is taken note of, particularly in these textile companies. And the MD and the chairman had slashed off 2% of the profitability is normally what he takes. That has been slashed off on 28 December 2015. So that shows you that, in fact, the management is totally into the business. And what that resulted in is that an interim dividend came in at around 15 rupees. That's far higher than what we have seen over the last few years. So it's not a recommendation. Think about it. The stock has been on a big run, but those are just the fundamental analysis. Cotton prices, by the way, have come off the high point as well. Back to you.
All right, Nigel, thanks a lot for that. And yes, as Nigel said, standard disclaimer, this was not a stock recommendation, just some interesting tidbits about a stock which has been running up. But 15 minutes left for markets to close. Ashwini Gujral and Mitesh Thakkar still with us for some BTSD ideas. Ashwini, before we talk about stock ideas, your thoughts on the way, again, in the second half today, the market has come off and the mid-cap index is actually ending at low point. And your closing ideas, of course.
If FIs don't want to participate or are not participating, it's all fantasy that we can do without them. So, 8750 can't be crossed, 9,000 is a distance away. Dow futures are up, everything is in favor, then why can't we move higher? Because, somebody is not buying. And, since July, 13th of July, we have been in this 8,500 to 9,000 band. That's a lot of consolidation. So my sense remains that maybe this correction to 8,500, 8,550, etc. is not enough. And unless we can go down, get enough shorts, enough fuel in the market, you won't be able to take out 9,000 so easily. Good results, bad results, we've seen it all. And chances are that the market will start tottering at higher levels unless, big money comes in. That is what is missing. As far as individual stocks are concerned, a good way to play the oil rise in oil prices is Engineers India. So instead of ONGC, which you'd ask me, I would much rather buy Engineers India. That's a buy with a stop of 268, target of 285. Aban Offshore is a buy with a stop of 274, target of 292. And CIAT has again started a decline. That's a sell with a stop of 1300. Look for targets of 1240.
Okay, so those are some interesting stocks. By the way, Hitachi Homes numbers were just flashing a while back. The company has now changed the name to Johnson Hitachi. So you may not recognize that it's the same company, but it's been a big wealth creator, Hitachi Home, in the past. And this time around as well, the income has gone up by 15%. And that's the stock, Johnson Hitachi, up almost 6% now. The company has posted losses, but it's less than the losses that they posted same time last year. So look like a decent set of numbers. Stock is holding up with quite a bit of gains. But Mitesh is also here to tell us what to buy or sell today for a reverse trade tomorrow. Mitesh, what are you looking at?
Yes, Sonia, one sell and one buy. The sell is on Apollo Hospitals with a stop at 1335 for targets of 1290. And Coal India is a BTST with a stop at 318.5 for targets of 328.
Okay, so that's one sell and one buy. Let's move on then and discuss some buzzing stocks. Anisha is here with a list of buzzing stocks. Anisha?
Well, Anuj, I'll start with the stock that are up about that 20% mark. So the new names coming in picture, Future Market Networks, which is up about 20%. There's another stock called Manaxia Limited, which is up about 20%. Tata Teleservices has been buzzing in trade. It has been up around that 20% mark since the beginning of trade. From the pharma space, we have Gupic Biosciences, which is up about 20%. Big movers this month, TCI Finance is up 53% month this month beginning itself, and Karma Energy as well 72% higher this month. Another stock which is buzzing in trade, another industry in fact, is the chemical space. You look at Gujarat, Narmada, Orient Abrasives, Pearl Polymers are all up and about 15 to 20% in trade. Kiri Industries and HOCL are two other stocks that are buzzing from this space. Metal space is buzzing as well. If you look at Indian Metals, Rohit Fellow, Electrotherm as well as Sathavna, Ispat, all are up about anywhere between 10 to 20%. Auto ancillaries also continues to buzz around. So if you look at Jai Bharat Maruti, the stock has been up about 75% this month itself. LG Balakrishna as well is about 16%. LML and JBM Auto are two other names from this particular space that are buzzing away. In terms of other stocks that are reacting to numbers and just ahead of numbers, Hitachi just came out with its number and the stock is holding up with around 6 to 7% gains. Ruchira Papers and JSFC as well are buzzing around just ahead of their numbers. On the flip side, some of the losers, Everest Industries is reacting to its numbers and is down about 7-8%. Captain Point as well is down. Malu Papers, Mindtree as well reacting negatively to its numbers. Lastly, Rana Sugars and Hindor are two other stocks which are reacting negatively.
All right, thanks for that. Well, it's more of the same really in the market, you know, Anuj. I mean, all of last week, it's almost like deja vu. Every time the Nifty gets to that 87.20, 87.30 level, it starts to sell off. It just seems like there's a big roadblock there and there seems to be no good news good enough to take the market above that level.
I think, you know, the issue here is that the market got at least some kind of leadership back with the Bank Nifty, but Infosys, for example, has again started to drag the market. I mean, if you take a look at the contribution played today, Sonia, you will see that while ICICI Bank is contributing about 15 points on the way up, almost all of that is getting negated by Infosys, or more than half of that is getting negated by Infosys, Larsen and Toubro, even other stronger stocks like HDFC Bank and Asian Paints. So the reasons could be many, but the fact is that the market needs some kind of trigger, some kind of ammunition to take this market higher from here on. And if you know, in case of lack of FI buying, you struggle to see where that's coming from. But let's see, this could just be a case of positive consolidation, but the market is lacking a trigger to take it above. What this needs is really maybe one event, you know, maybe one really, maybe this earnings season, maybe something comes out of this.
Maybe the bank earnings tomorrow. We have so many bank numbers tomorrow.
Exactly. Maybe that happens. You know, something like that. This market requires some kind of trigger to just take it out of this funk and then take it back towards.
Oh yes, for now it's very lethargic, this market. So let's get Sudeep Bandyopadhyay into the conversation. He's here with us in the studio. Sudeep, hi. Happy Diwali to you and your entire team. Do you think that the earnings season is that one trigger that can take the market out of its funk?
Well, definitely it needs a trigger, very clearly. Now, whether that will be the earnings or maybe US election, maybe US Fed coming and increasing the rate, I'm not sure. But something has to happen for the market to break out of this and move to a different level, either on the upside or, you know, the downwards. So something has to happen. I also believe that somewhere we are going to witness the banks slowly coming back. I'm not talking about intraday movements, but I'm talking about fundamentally a couple of things are happening. One is interest rates RBI has started bringing down. I believe strongly that RBI has a long way to go. There may be a more than 50 basis point cut over the next 6 months. That will help the banks. Also, the economy is improving. And with the improving economy, we are seeing more and more asset sale by the banks. We did see the big SROL deal, which helped ICICI, Axis and Stanchart. So these kind of transactions will pace of these transactions will increase with the economy improving. That again is going to help the banks. So overall, I think banks will slowly now come out of the woods, and we will see some kind of structural change happening in the banking space. That can definitely be a trigger, but will that trigger come tomorrow or within the next 1 week? I don't think so. I think it will take a little more time.
Okay, well, we still have about 10 more minutes to go before the day comes to an end, or rather the trading day comes to an end. Let's take a short break. On that note, we'll continue with our focus on the markets on the other side.
Well, 5 minutes left for markets to close. The stock that's surging now is Ajmera Realty, and the numbers are flashing on the screen. That's the reason that this stock all of a sudden has seen a vertical spike. Let's pull out the chart of that stock and then we'll get to the numbers as well. They'll be flashing on the screen, but first the stock. It's a Mumbai based real estate stock, of course, that we're talking about, Ajmera Real Estate, and interesting, up about 10% right now. EBITDA at 24 crores versus 15 crores on a small base. It's a 60% growth that you have seen. Margin also looking quite good, 38% versus 27%. And I think the net profit number is also good, Sonia.
Yes, it's quite good. In fact, both year-on-year and quarter-on-quarter, it's pumped up. So it's a 10 crore profit that we are seeing for the company versus about 7 crores last quarter and 6 crores the quarter year before. So it's looking quite good. I mean, I need to see what the company has booked in terms of, a revenue recognition this time around. We don't have those details, but yes, this is looking like a good set of numbers from Ajmera Realty. But Sudeep Bandyopadhyay and Mayuresh Joshi are still with us. Sudeep, from the real estate space, we do have some outliers, right? I mean, the Oberoi Realties, some of these stocks like Ajmera Realty doing well. Anything from that space that you still like?
We do like Oberoi Realty quite a bit. I think it's a fantastic company, and with their Worli property sales starting, I think the performance will keep improving. We also like Godrej Properties. I think it's again a good company. One has to be a little careful at what valuation you are entering, but otherwise it's a good stock to enter. So I think there are some of these companies, as you mentioned, which are good, but you have to be generally a little careful before you enter the real estate space. There are enough and more companies which probably an investor should not touch it, even at this stage.
Okay, 3 minutes left for markets to close. Mayuresh, Infosys, is it a good buy now at 1026? Again making a move back towards that 52-week lows.
So again, Anuj, I think long term, I think the story looks very, very compelling. But since they've cut their guidance down, I think how Q3, Q4 will pan out. And there are traditionally weak quarters for the IT sector as a whole, with furloughs coming through, and you've seen postponement happening on specific client budgets. What happens with the Brexit hard landing? I think this is one unknown that we're probably staring at this point of time. So again, I think from a valuation perspective, I think it is quite cheaply valued, if I were to put it that way, among the top tier IT names. But again, I think the underperformance, in my opinion, for the large cap IT names would continue. I think there will be better entry points. But yes, I think as I mentioned earlier, the structural story looks very, very promising. And the management intent itself, I think the intention to transform digitally and grow into cloud, I think that is going to be a telling effect that these companies will need to transform them into. They've got the cash flows, they've got the cash balances, so how they utilize cash is going to be extremely pertinent for all these companies. So structurally they look good, but again, I believe better entry points can be achieved over the next few weeks for these companies.
Okay, better entry points can be achieved. We just have 1.5 more minutes to go, so let's wrap up the day's trading action. Give and take everything, it's been a nothing sort of a day, right? I mean, just trying to sort of budge past that 8750 zone, but unable to do that.
Yeah, and I guess today also you'll find anemic numbers from FIIs, both on the gross numbers and on the net numbers, Sonia. So really that's the trigger that the market is lacking. Let's talk about stocks. Two stocks which worked in opposite extreme, of course, today. One was ICICI Bank. That actually was the top contributor on the way up 2.5%, and Infosys actually, which negated almost half of those gains. So Infosys was down about 1%. Let's talk about some more stocks. Tata Motors was up about 3%. ONGC made a new 52-week high. That stock has been looking up 4.5% higher on that. Lupin, SBI, Bank of Baroda, PSU banks actually did well in trade today. Bosch was the other big winner. Maruti was almost back to lifetime high, so these stocks did well. On the way down, Idea was down 3.5%. What a bear market it's been for Idea now. Wipro, HCL Tech, other major losers. Asian Paints, you rarely see a day where Asian Paints corrects 2%, but that was the case today. And Z and Larsen and Toubro were the other prominent losers in today's trade. Midcaps was interesting, Sonia. The index was in the red, but advanced decline was positive.
Yes, that's true. So quite confusing actually the picture by the end of it. But let's talk about what we know. So the stocks that did well today, a lot of result reactions that were good. You had V-Guard that has hit a fresh high. So fresh 52-week high on V-Guard. Good set of numbers coming in, and that stock closes with gains of 5%. We just saw Hitachi Home come out with their numbers a while back, or Johnson Hitachi as it is called now. That stock went up almost 3.5%. So good going there. GNFC had a very strong run today, so 16% higher on GNFC, big volumes there, a fresh 52-week high there. And you also had some oil marketing companies that have been hitting new highs. So BPCL is at a fresh high. That stock up almost about 3%, 52-week high on that one. Apart from that, on the downside, you had all these IT names, Mindtree, Persistent Systems. They've been volatile with a lot of cuts coming in. Mindtree down 5.5% after what was a disappointing quarter, undoubtedly, and so was Persistent Systems, so down almost about 2.5 to 3%. DLF is down almost about 1% or so, sulking over there, and a couple of other stocks like NBCC were down about 2%. But we come to the end of the first day of the festive week. And suffice to say, it's been a day of consolidation with a slightly positive bias. The Sensex goes home with a 130-point gain and the Nifty up about 20-odd points. We have a long list, just to repeat myself, a long list of earnings tomorrow. But we also have the PNB Housing IPO that opens tomorrow. So that will be interesting to watch. So Deep, what would you recommend investors do with this one, considering that, you know, there's been so much froth in this NBFC space?
Well, Sonia, there has been some froth definitely, but I think housing sector in particular has performed commendably well. PNB Housing Finance is an unlisted company but has been in existence for a very long time, and they have been performing really well. If you see their asset quality and all that, it's much better than most of the other players. They have a little bit of lag in terms of the earnings numbers. In fact, their earnings probably is still not comparable with the leaders in this space, but I think that is a function of how much equity they have and how much borrowed funds they are using, the leverage ratios. With this IPO, I think they will come out of the, they will no longer be the subsidiary of Punjab National Bank. They will be free to raise money going forward as well, because till now they were dependent on two companies, which is Punjab National Bank and Destimony. These were the two shareholders of PNB Housing Finance. Now with IPO, they will come out of that, and I think they will be free to raise money and increase the balance sheet. So I think it's a good issue. I recommend the subscription to the issue.
Okay. So Ashwini, from a positional trader's point of view, how should this market be approached now? Still, sell at the top end of the market, buy at the lower end, or take a convincing short along?
For the moment, the market hasn't broken down, so your stop is 86.50. What you are getting is a sense that there isn't much upside, but immediately you can't take a short position based on that. So if you get a large range day or some sort of gap up for some reason, that is the time you try to exit, because it's clear it's not going to cross 8,900, 9,000. So anytime you get closer to those levels, you need to take it off, because 4 months of consolidation has happened. All the events which can happen are probably discounted. So the odds are getting higher and higher that it could, if a consolidation lasts for more than a certain period, sometimes can become distribution. So at higher levels, take money off. In case you come down to 8,500, 8,550, maybe reinstate position. So try to do a 400-point range as far as market play is concerned. I don't think you should over leverage or go all in right now. There will be a correction which will come down to its 200-day moving average. That is where new money, fresh money, major money needs to be invested.
Okay, we'll keep that in mind, and on that note, we'll thank you guys for joining us and sitting with us through the last hour of trade. For now, our closing bell money control question of the day is the comment that came in from Navneet Munot of SBI Mutual Fund.